I'm not going to record the peace greeting this time because this ain't peaceful. I'm just going to call it what it is. First off, I plan to do a live stream tomorrow about 7 a.m. Eastern time. Y'all can come under the comments and let me know what y'all think about that time. I plan to cover various topics, one of them being the selection of Kamala Harris, and another one being the extreme arguments in our cases about should we be so conservative that we don't bring anybody that you can tell came from the hood with us to Zamunda and after that to Wakanda, or the opposite extreme of let's take the worst, idness, the pookiest of the pookies and bring them because we all black. I'm planning to address that because I'm going to be honest. An example of a good balance as far as what I've heard has been BGS, because if he did advocate bringing the pookiest of the pookies with us on one extreme, I never heard it. What I've heard him do is say, on one hand, yeah, we make choices. We're going to have to deal with the consequences of the choices. On the other hand, when you make the right choice, do not forget that you will have to contend with an outside force. It lies in wait when you're making the wrong choices. When you make the right choice, it comes in against you. That's a pretty balanced take on it. I'm not going to call the names of the ones that are imbalanced. I've already said a few, but I ain't going to call those names. Because truth is always mixed with falsehood by the devil, thus making the falsehood more believable. But we fall victim to a dichotomous thinking, which underlines the two-party political process of the United States. We get caught up in this. Which one? Father Mucker, what do you mean which one? If both of them are telling lies, I'm going to take the truth from each one and walk right down that middle. That's how you find out that the two wings belong to the same bird. You go down that middle, oh, there's a spine and both of them are flapping. Shuck this fit. Which you voting? I'm voting black. And right now, the blackest vote I can tell anybody is repatriation. What I've been saying for years. If Obama was black enough, he wouldn't have been on the ticket for you to check next to his name anyway. Same thing with Biden and Kamala Harris right now. That's why we got to argue about whether or not it's even worth it to vote. We got to argue about that for that reason. It's by design. The game is rigged. Yes, white supremacy is real. I'm so tempted to call some names right now and say that. But you know what? I don't hate them. I just want to point this out to them. Calling names would seem incendiary or like I got beef when I don't. And even though they probably would know, most of the audience would not know and might entertain a beef that's not even there. Now that I've got that out the way, I'm recording this one because I recorded yesterday in a car. And between the wind noise and me watching my voice because there was a driver, the volume came out too low on the final end. I heard it, heard the playback. I said, shuck this fit. And I just went ahead and took it down. I'm recording it again right now. I'm one-sided because every human being must make judgments. There are preliminary judgments. There will be final judgments between now and Judgment Day, and then the final judgment on Judgment Day, of course, which many of you don't even think actually exists. But don't worry, we'll all wind up there whether we believed in it or not. I mean, the only way that you'll be able to say, see, nigga, I told you there's no Judgment Day, is if we're all resurrected. And why would we be resurrected if not for Judgment Day? So there really is no chance of somebody being able to come back and saying, see, nigga, I told you so. There is a chance of me being able to say to them, see, nigga, I told you so. But we got to make judgments in the meantime. Moral, political, all kinds of judgments. But when you judge based on evidence, you have to give a ruling at some point. Or you have to come up with this preliminary judgment. What I've found as I've listened to all these tales of blame and weeping and wailing about what men do, I found that, number one, men have the disadvantage of a lesser understanding of women than vice versa. And number two, it really is individual. When a man does something wrong, that man is to blame and whoever encouraged it. So I look and I see what are men encouraged to do. Well, we men are given mixed messages. Get all the pussy you can. Don't never turn down none. Man, bro, be respectful and don't just be a dog about that one thing. Don't just try to make everything about sex. We get mixed messages. That's what we get. So that's where the confusion comes in. That right there is going to somewhat mitigate the guilt, although only a little bit. So then the men choose which one of the mixed messages they're going to go with. So men really are choosing as individuals. They really are. Now, when it comes to what the women are doing with the men, I still say that they're choosing as individuals, but there is a hive mind among women that does not exist among men. What I see is that they're not making the decision to disobey that hive mind. Now, there are those who make the decision to escape detection by the hive mind, to not stick out. Let me tell you what I mean. In barbershops, men differ. There's certain things that men are not going to confess to. A husband can say, I take care of everything. Everything. If she don't cook, I get her some food. I might cook. I keep things clean, so she really ain't got to do much cleaning. But if she don't give me the drawers when I say so, I pin her down and take it. Now, man can say this. Ain't no man gonna agree with him. Forget the responsibility he just said that he took. Forget all of that. When he said, I'll pin her down and take it, right off the bat, right there, the men ain't going to agree. And we talk about even in a marriage, when men and women have rights to the sex of the other one. Talking Islamically speaking, each one has rights to the other one's sex. No, they're not going to agree. I'm not going to agree, even though Islamically there is no charge of rape between spouses. Now, again, that's why I say the final judgment comes in. That's something that is reserved for Judgment Day. Wife comes up, says, he pinned me down and raped me. Oh, well, did he fulfill his end of the marriage contract? Yeah, okay. Did he waive his right to have sex with you? No. Okay, well, if he did rape you, we're going to leave that for Judgment Day. We don't have a case here on earth. Not right now. Now notice, they don't say it's okay. They just simply say that's not going to be a court case on earth. That's going to have to wait till Judgment Day. Even still, I myself am not going to agree when a man says I pin her down and take it. You understand? We men are not going to go for certain things, even when we are seriously red pill and militant like I can be. I know certain things you can't say in a barbershop. Let me tell you what you can say in a hair salon, even though I'm not supposed to know about this. I know because my own mother explained this to me. In hair salons, the women that say it's wrong to tell him it's his baby so he'll raise it. It's wrong to put this guy that loves you on the back burner so that you can go through a whole phase with the guys that don't care nothing about you. It's wrong to lie to these men about what you want and then hold them accountable because they don't know what you want. It's wrong to plan from the very beginning how you're going to extract resources and he gets nothing out the deal. The games are wrong and immoral that you play. Those women that say these things in the hair salon are going to get ganged up on. Like I said, my own mother told me this was the case. See, an interesting thing happened when it comes down to black women's hair care. My mother only went to black hairdressers, period. She didn't go to white ladies to get her hair done. She could have, she didn't. As my mother went to them, she said to me, separate from the case I told you about when she went to visit her friends in New Orleans and they asked her about my brother and me for their own daughters, and she said, well, they say that these women only want thugs and maybe some celebrities, and the other mothers are like, yes, that's true. That's why we're asking about your sons, because maybe we can, and you know, you would think they got to arguing about, wait, no, let me introduce them to my daughter first. They didn't get that far. I'm well aware that if a bunch of women are telling my mother that they like to know how my brother and I are doing and if we're single, that they would get to arguing with each other if they're having the same idea at the same time. You know what? They didn't get that far, because when my mother told them what I said, they confirmed. They said, yes, that's what we're trying to get them away from. Separate from that, was another case in which my mother said to me, "Black, you were absolutely right. The women of your generation are completely different from my generation. The things that have been going on are the same, but the reactions they get are different." She said, in a nutshell, that when she was coming up, these games existed, but women didn't feel comfortable sitting up in a hair salon bragging about this stuff. She said that it had gotten to a point where she knew that she would be in trouble if she spoke against it. She could speak against it and get pinned down and they cut her hair off. Or they start a fight and throw her out of the hair salon with her hair half done. Not even necessarily the hairdresser. But when they were talking this ratchet stuff, girl, I don't know if that baby belonged to him. Oh, you nasty. I know. You speak against that, you might be in trouble, but you speak for that stuff, nothing happens because you're in the majority. Ain't nobody gonna pin you down or kick you out bald or with your hair half done. No. And that's, my mother said, the hairdresser, I like her. But son, I started going at different times on different days, trying to go when I thought they weren't gonna be there. And I couldn't escape them. I says, even early in the morning, Mom? Mom said, Black, nobody will go to her early in the morning. She don't have a reason to open up her shop that early in the morning. She opens it up early in the morning, there's nobody there. And I said, well, Mom, if I paid you to pay her to come in a little bit earlier on days when you have an appointment with her, and she turned it down. She said, no, you're the son. You don't give money to your parents. That was what my mother said. She said, it's not your job, but thank you. But she confessed to me that I was right about something else, and she had not believed me in the beginning, that the generations were really this different. And this is part of why it is that I've been saying lately, after doing the research and listening and trying to find what men had done so bad on a massive scale, that no, I'm going to be one-sided about this. Men ain't starting off with some understanding at a young age of women and what women want. We start off with a mystery, a big old question mark, trying to figure it out. We go ask older gentlemen. They say, hell, I ain't figured it out and I'm 40 years old. That's what we get. And recently, only recently, because of social media, have we been able to find out that, you know what, actually, they want the dude they ain't supposed to be with. They want the dude that they wouldn't feel comfortable telling a priest they like. Unless, of course, that priest is trying to hit on them. They wouldn't want to tell the pastor that this is the kind of guy they like, unless, of course, the pastor is trying to get with them. Baby, what's wrong with me? Why won't you marry me? Well, pastor, I need a little more thug. I like them niggas that ain't in the church. I mean, I like you as a pastor, but when it comes to, what's going to warm me up on Saturday night, he ain't in church, pastor. He ain't in church. And granted, I know it's not every lady, but again, just like in the hair salon, the ones that know this is wrong and are against it must stay silent if they know what's being talked about. Of course they exist. But like I've said, they're at home with their families, and even if they're single, they know they can't talk against this foolishness. You say too much against it and they're coming for you. A pastor could say, look, black women are better than what you see Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion doing in that video. Black women are better than that. And what do they say? Why you got to talk about black women's? But that's who was in the video aside from Kylie Jenner. Now you got sisters pushing to have Kylie Jenner taken out the video and leave only the two sisters on there acting all ratchet and nasty. Publicly. See, that kind of acting is great within a marriage. But that's not where we're seeing that. And we're not seeing that type of thing being reserved for men that are husband material either. We're seeing that actually, we all know, we understand the husband does not get what you see in his marriage. If that was the case, I doubt that there would be these kinds of divorce rates. Because the wife that's going to do that for the husband ain't going to turn around the next week and then file for divorce. And we already know, most of the times it's the women asking for divorce. There's a stat for that. Another reason why I'm one-sided about this is based on a statistic. If 51% of black men are unmarried and ain't got no chillins, and 31% are married with children or without children, that leaves less than 18% that could possibly be responsible for the fatherless child rates in our community. And see, black men are not abandoning kids when they have them out of wedlock. That's one thing I can say. Apparently, the pookie and the thinking black men that have their children out of wedlock don't abandon them. Same goes for the Latin American men. That's what the CDC said at the end of 2015. So if that's the case, then that means that you got less than 18%. You got far less than 18%. Now all we need to know is, what is the percent of black American women, adults, that have kids at all? Because whatever that percent is, it's 80% of them that are having them out of wedlock. Or 80%, I should say 80% of black births are out of wedlock. Now, if 80% of black births are out of wedlock, a lot of these men ain't out here getting cheeks like this, or at least they ain't making babies out of wedlock. And I understand that there are married men who have outside kids. I get that. But we got to get the stats on that too. However, what we know is that it can't be no 18% of black men doing this. So this means that this is worse than 80-20 going on. It's 80 and less than 20, 80 and somewhere less than 18, something noticeably less than 18. It can't even be 16.5% realistically. So we got worse than 80-20 amongst us. What does that tell you? Tells you that at heart, yes, sisters are looking for the same few men and they don't want to admit it. Now, don't come and tell me what the white women have done as if to exonerate. I already know that they ain't worth nothing. You ain't got to tell me, you ain't got to convince me. As a whole, Western white women ain't worth nothing. Eastern white women, I take them as they come. I don't know. I'm not saying I could marry one, because the Western white woman's trained me to run from her too. But I don't make judgments about them because I've not lived in their communities or lived around them, and I've certainly not lived in Eastern Europe. I've not lived in Europe at all. It's too cold. So I'm simply trying to be fair about this, and what I know is that the women that I love the most inside of the United States are trifling as all get out as a rule. And they ain't trifling in every facet of life either. No. Black women make great doctors. They make great dentists. They make great physicists. They make great astronomers. When they put their minds to something, they do so well at it. And they will work hard academically, although there are those that'll drop them drawers in a moment of weakness for a professor to get that A and get ahead. That does exist. What I'm saying is that for the most part, when they put their minds to it, yeah, they're great. I'll be the first to tell you, boy, black women sharp when they choose to be. So that's how I know. And that's another reason I'm one-sided. There is no lack of accountability. They have the ability to be exactly like black women outside the West have been. Sharp, on point, and not hoes. Not chasing after the same few men. Even in countries where polygamy is allowed. If they want to have a man to themselves, they go get a single man. Sisters, stateside. Even Jamaica, Canada, England. They want a man to themselves, but they're going to chase after the same few men, knowing damn well every other woman wants him. Wouldn't want him if every other woman didn't want him. Or if they did, they wouldn't choose him if every other woman didn't want him. And they got the nerve to complain about niggas cheat. No, you only are willing to compete for the same ones that other men want. The stats about childbirth have borne this out. They've shown this. And I've addressed other ways that it could have looked this way. Like, some married men who have outside kids. I've addressed that could exist. But if it was enough to account for the disparity, you're talking about the majority of married black husbands having outside kids. That's the only way that would account for the disparity. You can't account for the disparity except by understanding what we all can see with our own two eyes anyway, without the stats and the studies. Sisters are chasing the same few men. They are competing. And they'll tell you, some of them will tell you, I don't want men that my friends ain't talked about, because that means nobody else wants them. And I've even had sisters say, if other women don't want this man, why should I want him? I never forget when I was in college, one of my classmates was from Nepal. I remember him. And I told him that this was a problem. This was 1995. I'm sorry, 1996. This is around the time Tupac died. I remember sitting in my car having this conversation. And he said, I learned this from them. I look at them and I say, if other men don't want her, then why should I? Because I learned this from them. They taught me that. Telling me that American women have taught him this. If American women have taught him that, he's sitting up and telling you that he never got this idea back home. If women think it back home, they fuck the shuck up and they don't break the society down because of it. And that's why I'm one-sided about this, and I don't apologize for it. I've watched this from 1995, really from 1994, but definitely 1995 onwards. And I have reported the same things that everybody in the manosphere is now saying. Now it's common knowledge. The stuff I used to say, I was considered crazy for saying. Now it's common knowledge in the manosphere. And even then, over the last several years, I would look and I'd say, well, obviously men and women are traumatizing each other. You know what I found out? Here's another reason why I'm one-sided. When a woman is traumatized because of what men have done to her, she's allowed to be traumatized and have her defenses up and have her walls and her guard up. That's a challenge. That's okay. When a man is traumatized, especially a black man, you don't get to be hurt. You don't get to be on guard. Nigga, you don't get to have none of that. You need to be trying to climb her walls and her defenses. She don't need to be trying to do nothing to show you that when you get in behind her walls and get behind the defenses, that it's a goddamn trap. She don't need to be showing you nothing. She don't need to do nothing to earn your trust. She's a woman. She's automatically innocent. Nigga, you the one that's guilty. Even though your innocence is the reason why you're hurt in the first place. You're still the one that's guilty till you're proven innocent because your genitals hang out. And if you have sex, you're probably going to come. How dare you? So you're the one that needs to go through stress. And there's another thing that makes me one-sided. See, I understand this is a war. And the war is already one-sided. Let's be honest, man. You did not know that we were at war. Some of you still don't know. You hear me say, and you're like, I'm not sure I agree. Yeah, it's a war. Because if you look at the deception, what are we trying to deceive them out of? I mean, some would say we're trying to deceive them out of sex. Is that because we want to or because they insist? But when it comes to what they want to deceive us out of, what, resources? Things that most of the time we're willing to use on their behalf anyway, as long as we have it and we're together? That's what they're trying to deceive us out of? More resources than what we can afford? Deceive us out of resources for somebody else's. That's the ultimate goal of their war. We're trying to deceive him only because they insist that it be a deception in the first place. That's what game is. So if we're trying to deceive them, we're trying to deceive them into giving us a chance and finding out they really like us so they'll stick around and we can raise these families together, grow old together. They're trying to deceive us into raising somebody else's baby with our resources. C. Boogie said that. Now, he didn't refer specifically to paternity fraud, but he did say that it's dark under that mask. He said that, and he's justified them wearing the mask. That's war. And we weren't the ones that were fighting this war. We didn't even realize it was a war. That's why I'm so one-sided. They want to make sure that you never enjoy a heterosexual satisfaction with them without a whole lot of stress before, during, or after that encounter. That's what they want to do. If it doesn't suit them at all, I've said this before, if they can't get anything out of you in exchange, they'll make sure that you just still lose to the state somehow. Just to make sure that you don't get them draws without stress. Now, you ain't supposed to stress them out if you want to have sex with them. But for them to have sex with you, they're going to stress you out before, during, or after the encounter, one way or another. And if there's nothing for them to get out of you in exchange, they will pick up the phone and call 911. Now, they gain nothing, but you got to do some time. If that's what it takes, that's what they'll do. Or they'll call someone to come and kick your behind. Something you're going to pay. And if it's not financially, you're going to pay some other way, even if they don't benefit from it. That's war. They've turned around and they have made, instead of suffering being, they've taken suffering, and instead of it being a condition of life, For a purpose, they've made it the purpose of life. It's to suffer. And to suffer more if you enjoy this WAP. That's war, gentlemen. A war we were not fighting. That's why I'm so one-sided about this. I'm not just one-sided, gentlemen. I'm telling you to be one-sided with me. And if I pass away, continue being one-sided until it's no longer necessary to protect your rights. Because we were never out to just, take their rights as a whole, as a collective. Some would say, what you're trying to say, that women are collectively out trying to do this to men? Well, like I said, I don't know what the stats are. I don't know how many are good and how many are bad. And I don't even know how you would rank a study like that. What I do know is that the ones who are not willing to oppress men are silenced. That's the most important thing to remember. The ones that will not oppress men are silenced. Either they don't know what's going on because they got someone and they're at home busy with the family, or they know what's going on and they better not say anything. And they know they better not say anything, as I've said. I'm one-sided because the game is rigged against us and not against them. If that were different, I don't think I'd be this way. That being said, thanks for listening. Hopefully this recording won't be necessary. In the meantime, I hope it helps. Black heart, black mind, black out. Do not lose this war. And black heterosexual non-select male power just because they don't like it.